What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel, guys. I am your host, JayNotion, and today we are checking out a movie review for Weapons. So I thought I'd treat you to a little bit of a different video because I haven't put up a movie review for a very long time on the channel. And I went to check out this movie yesterday and it was absolutely amazing. Really enjoyed it. So the first 5 minutes of this video, guys, is going to be me talking about the movie, spoiler free. It's going to be giving my thoughts, suggestions, and things that I liked about it without diving too much into the intricacies of the story. And I will make it known when I go into spoiler territory, so I won't spoil it for you if you're looking to go out and check this out. But in a nutshell, it was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed it. It's a great horror movie. It was written and directed by Zach Kreger, who is the same person that wrote and directed Barbarian. Now, Barbarian got a little bit of a mixed reception. I haven't seen it myself, but just checking out some reviews online, checking out some media, there's a mixed bag. Some people really enjoyed it. Some people didn't like it. A little bit like Marmite. But this one is an absolute beast, and it's doing really well at the box office. It's smashed out millions and millions on the opening weekend. And it's getting more clout. And I want to just come in and put this video in and just say it's worth the clout. It's worth going to watch. Without going into too much, I'm going to summarize the opening and I'm going to summarize the gist of the story. So this movie stars Julia Garner. If you've seen Ozark, you'll know who she is. She's an absolutely amazing protagonist in this movie. She plays it so well. And we've also got some other cameos, some other guest appearances. The child that plays Alex, who is called Carrie Christopher, is absolutely phenomenal. He's a great little actor. He does so well and he's believable. None of his expressions are cringe. He's really in character. He sets the scene. He's creepy in his own little way, without going into too much detail about why, but you sympathize with him 1 minute, then you think, is he part of what's going on and what's happening to these kids? Is he not? But he just plays the role absolutely phenomenally well. And it's the same really for all the other actors in this movie. Josh Brolin is in this as well. He plays a grieving father, basically. Desperate for answers. And he's kind of the person in the movie that wants to find out what the hell happened because one of his children, his son, has gone missing. So there's a reason this movie is one of the most talked about horror movies of 2025. We're being absolutely blessed with horror content at the moment. We're getting horror TV shows, we're getting horror movies, we're getting horror video games, and this one is taking the biscuit. It's really good. So in a nutshell, we are in a town called Maybrook. The story begins about a month after an event where a third grade set of kids, about around 15-20 of them, just go missing. There's a little bit of a story at the beginning where there's a young girl that kind of does a voiceover and she kind of says, you know, on this one night, everything was fine, and on this one night 17 class kids just decided they got up in the middle of the night, vanished into the night, ran into the darkness, except for one student, and the one student that's left behind is Alex, who, as I said, is played by Carrie Christopher. The whole crux of the story, the whole crux of the movie is the kids go missing. No one knows why, no one knows how, and the marketing, can I just say, for this film, the trailers and the build up to this has been absolutely amazing. It is one of the most enticing trailers I've ever seen. As soon as I saw the trailer, I thought, yes, I need to see this, because it doesn't give you much. All you see is creepy kids running into the darkness with their hands sprawn out to the sides, kind of what you see here in the background on this movie review. That's like the signature run that they do. They just put their hands out to the side like a seagull and just run off into the darkness. But they all do it. They all do it at the same time. Different households all over this town. And no one knows why. So straight away I'm thinking, is this aliens? Is it a demon? Is it, you know, is it something in the town? Is it a thriller? Is it someone enticing them to do this? But there's got to be some sort of brainwash material for them all to do it in sync. Almost like a hive mind. So anyway, without going too much into that until the spoiler section, that's kind of the gist of the story. These kids go missing. Julia Garner plays the teacher of the class of all the kids that go missing. Obviously bar Alex, who's the one child that doesn't go missing. So straight away I'm thinking, why is Alex the only one that doesn't go missing? And the whole crux of the film is it's shot in different perspectives, so it's along the same timeline. It starts off with the teacher Julia's timeline, and you see how bad basically people are to her, how abusive they are. They blame her for stuff. They, you know, one of the guys, the dad, who's played by Josh Brolin, he says, you know, I want to know what's going on in her class. Why is it only one kid that's still around? Like, these were good kids. They just disappeared all of a sudden. Why are they all disappearing in her class? I want to know what's happening in her class. So he thinks it's her fault. He thinks for some reason whatever she's teaching, whatever she's doing has caused the children to run away. He's obviously in denial, he's in grief, and it's just a shocking event for everybody. So the first kind of 15-20 minutes is her side of the story, i.e. getting the abuse, getting all the shit off of the parents, basically just turning to alcohol, getting really depressed, trying to reconcile his relationship with her as well, and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of seeing her side of things, and she plays the role absolutely amazingly. She does such a good job of showing the emotions of what she's carrying, and not for 1 second did I sit there and think she did this, she's a part of this. I didn't think that at all. There was some questionable behavior that she shows during the movie, but essentially the first 15-20 minutes is her side. It's seeing her outcome, it's seeing how she's handling it, the abuse she gets off of people, and she wants to find these kids as much as the parents do. So it's all about that. And then we move on to other people. So you weave through several characters. They're all linked, by the way, to the children in some way. So Julia's character is obviously the teacher of the children. We then go to Josh Brolin's character, who is called Archer. He's the dad of one of the kids, and he's obviously desperate. He's grieving. He's lost his son. He wants answers. We've then got Alden Ehrenreich, I think his name is, who plays Paul. Paul is basically Justine's, who is Julia Garner's character, ex-boyfriend. He's kind of a beat cop. He's got his own set of issues. He's not getting on great in his marriage. He's not happy, and he kind of reconciles his relationship a little bit with Julia, and she kind of says, you know, what are you doing about these kids? And he's like, well, I'm doing my best. They reconcile, they have a moment, he has a slight affair, although he kind of has a Ross in Friends moment where he says we were on a break to Julia about his ex or his current girlfriend. I don't know if they're together or not, and they kind of have a moment. And then we kind of weave to Benedict Wong's character, who is Marcus. He plays the school principal. And then you've got Austin Abrams, who plays James, who is a meth addict, and he kind of steals stuff. He goes around stealing. And all the characters in their own way are interweaved into this story of all the kids go missing. So you've got Julia, who's the teacher. You've got Archer, who's the dad of one of the children. You've got Marcus, who is the school principal. So obviously he's heavily involved in it. He's trying to bat off the media. He's trying to keep everything calm. He's trying to stop the residents from ripping apart Julia's character because they all blame her and they think she's hiding something. And then Austin Abrams is kind of interlinked unintentionally. So he, spoiler but not spoiler, he kind of stumbles upon some truth later on in the film, and it's him that brings events to light. So, and then everything kind of overlaps. So the film is shot really, really well. I thought when I was watching this would make an amazing TV series because it's shot based on each character. So the first 20 minutes you're with Julia, then you move over to Archer, then you move over to Josh's character, not Josh's character, sorry, to Benedict's character, and it's kind of shot in 20 to 30 minute segments. The movie's just over 2 hours long, so it's a fairly long film, but I think the pacing on it was brilliant, and you get to spend a good amount of time with each of these characters. And as I said, their story, although it's along the same timeline, and you see overlapping events with each character as well. So there's a moment where Julia's at a gas station, for example. She sees one of the characters, and then her story or her bit plays out. Then you spend time with the character that she saw later on. You see their build up to that moment, and then you see from his perspective Julia, and then you see what he does after that, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like a complex web of events, and they're all interlinked to each other. But what's really cool is that they all share a central focus on a central point, which is that they're all interlinked to these children somehow. So that's kind of how the movie plays out. That's kind of how it's shot. That's how it's put together. And the movie essentially is understanding each of these characters, understanding their stories, their perspectives, how they're interweaved into the story, and how the overall narrative feeds into their story, basically. Everything about the film I think was amazing. It was really, really good. Zach did an amazing, who's the director, did an amazing job for signature storytelling. I didn't know actually that Zach was into comedy before he wrote movies, before he got into horror. Seems to happen quite a lot. Jordan Peele's doing it. There's a few others out there that are starting to do it as well. And you can tell that this isn't a scary film, guys. It's not a terrifying movie. I went into this film thinking that it was going to be based on the trailer, because the trailer sold it to me. It looked absolutely terrifying from the trailer. It was intriguing. It roused my suspicions. I wanted to go in and think, is this a sci-fi? Is this a horror? Is it a mix of the two? Is it a thriller? And there's elements of all of those things in this film. There's elements of bits that you think, is this aliens? Is this a demon? What is this? Is this just someone that's lost the plot? And it's written so well that throughout the whole movie you're sat there guessing which one it is at various points. And there's strong cases for each of those events, if you see what I mean. My instant go-to was, based on the fact that the movie's called Weapons, I thought it was aliens and they were drawing the children in and using the children as weapons. And you'll find out later on that I was half right with that assumption. But again, without spoiling too much, that's all I'm going to say for now. But the movie was shot really, really well. The reason it's an 18 is because there's a lot of gore in it. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of... someone, for example, gets their face peeled off with a potato peeler. Yes, they do. Someone gets their face bashed in by loads of people. You see the jaw being pulled off and stuff like that. So it's very gory. It's quite violent in places. In terms of fear factor, there are probably 1 or 2 scenes where I genuinely jumped. Other than that, they're just kind of like, oh, you know, a little bit of a judder in the shoulder type thing. Not overly scary, just a bit creepy is the best way I can describe this film. A little bit creepy, but atmospheric. Nothing that's going to put you off of watching it. Nothing that's going to be absolutely terrifying to the point where you're not going to want to sit there and watch it. It's not that type of film. It's mellow enough. If you really like horror but you don't like the scare aspect, you'll be fine. You can go and watch this. There's nothing in it that's going to absolutely freak you out. Undeniably freak you out. It's just gory. Blood and guts and stuff like that, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to take that turn, but it does in multiple scenes in the movie. It doesn't ruin it, but I just didn't expect that to happen based on what I saw in the trailer. But anyway, that is the whole crux of the film, guys. That's the plot. These kids go missing. You get the perspective of each character, and at the end, you obviously find out what happened to the kids, the perspective of each character, how it overlaps, and all that sort of thing. So all I'm going to say in this spoiler-free section is the movie is great. If you enjoy horror films, or you want to see something that's a little bit different, that's going to give you a little bit of a detective-type vibe, if you're into those crime thrillers on Netflix or Prime, the ones where, you know, you got to sit there and think, oh, did he do it? Did she do it? Who done it type documentaries, or whodunit type TV shows, you're going to really, really enjoy this one, because that's kind of what me and my partner did. We were sat there and I said, what do you think? And she was like, I don't really know. Oh, I don't like that person. They're a bit suspicious. And then I was like, no, I think they're cool. I think it's going to fall on the other person. So it prompts that sort of conversation. If you're into that sort of thing where you're sort of crime solving, detecting, you're trying to scope people out, you'll enjoy this as well. It's a little bit of detective work, but also it is eerie, it's creepy, especially when you get to kind of the midway point of the movie when things really start to open up and then almost the paranormal starts coming into it and the sci-fi type elements start coming into it. Then you're like, okay, now we're ramping up a gear. But I think overall the pacing was really good. I don't think there was any sections where I sat there and thought, oh, come on, hurry this up. This is boring. Can we get to the next bit? Didn't feel like that at all at any stretch of the movie. And I think to sit there 2 hours, 2 hours, 10 minutes and be completely engrossed in it, which I was. I didn't realise the movie had gone and it was over by that point. After that time, we saw it really late. We didn't get out till kind of like 10:30 in the evening. It didn't feel like that, if you see what I mean. Sometimes you watch a film that long and you come out and you think, that was a long one, I'm not going to watch that again, or, you know, I've done that bit now. And you're clock watching, you look, you know, what time is it? Is it near the end? I didn't do that at all once in this film. So I think when you come out of a film not doing that, I think it's sold on the writing, I think it's sold on the pacing, because it was delivered perfectly, in my opinion. Really, really good use of atmospheric sound, really good use of high-strung violin music and sounds, and there was scare effects and there was scare CGI, but it was very, very minimal. I think what I really liked about this movie is it went back to basics. It was kind of like 90s-esque based on what people were wearing. It was set in like a small village. And because it's a small village, everyone knows each other. So the interactions were believable. The storylines were believable. What happens to the children is kind of believable, although it goes a little bit the other way later on, which I'll touch on in a minute in the spoiler section. But for me, I think as a whole, this is a great movie to go and watch. And there's a lot of hype behind it at the moment. It's got 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's got to be worth something. It's got 8 out of 10 or above on most of the other movie review channels and outlets that I watch and follow. So it's not just me saying this, guys. This is worth a watch. If you're debating something at the cinema and you don't want to go and watch Freaky or Friday, and you've seen Jurassic World, you've seen Superman, you've seen Fantastic Four or 5, whatever, and you want to see something else, this is the one for you. I think it's worth it, especially if you've got a partner or, you know, family member, son, sister, mum, whatever, that's into horror, that's into the thriller stuff. Even if you haven't, even if you're just into it, go and watch this on your own. It's definitely worth the ticket price, and I think this movie deserves all the rep and support that it can get because it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. So yes, for me, as a rating, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. It's near perfect. There was just a couple of little things that I didn't quite like, and it's just me being super picky. But when I give these ratings, guys, a 10 out of 10 for me is an absolutely flawless, perfect movie. Nothing can be changed. The pacing, the writing, everything's absolutely flawless, and there's nothing at all I would change about it. Start, middle, and end. I loved 99% of this movie. I liked 1% of it, and I'll talk about why. That's exactly why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. Because there's just a small little bit at the end, and the actual ending itself, where I feel it kind of tails off and it loses steam a little bit. But other than that, fantastic film, great pacing, enjoyable time, fun to watch, great to sit there and work out what's happening. And I loved just seeing how it unfolds, how the characters unfold. It starts off quite slow, it starts off quite methodical, it sets the scene well. And then when you move through the other characters, it kind of gains traction, it picks up pace. And then you start spotting anomalies and you start spotting similarities in the storylines and certain things the characters see and do. And then you're like, oh, hang on a minute, they did that in the other one with the other person, and she saw that, so why did that not happen? Do you know what I mean? You're kind of piecing it together as a puzzle, and then by the end you're like, yes, it clicks, it fits well, it fits the story, it fits the web of plot and storytelling and the character arcs as well. It all comes together beautifully, and I think it's been absolutely well written. It's an amazing film. So that's my score, a 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching the video, but if you want to stick around for the spoilers, please do. If not, and you're done and you want to go and watch it yourself, you're going to have a great time. Until the next one, thank you for watching me. On to the spoiler section. So, it's a witch. It's a witch, it's a witch, it's a witch. So I didn't see this one coming, but in a nutshell, it's a witch. And there's little hints at it being a witch throughout the other characters. So in the very beginning, when you see Julia's character, the teacher who obviously runs the class of all the kids that have gone missing, she gets terrorized by the people. They think she's done it, they think she's got something to do with it, and someone's spray paints witch on the side of her car. Obviously, like, you know, you're evil, you've manipulated children, da da da, but that is actually what is happening. There is a witch that moves into the town, and she's actually the aunt of, so the young boy whose name is Alex's mum and dad are obviously living in this town as well. Alex's aunt, so I don't know if I think it's the mum's sister, just rocks up one day. She's having some issues, she's homeless and stuff, and she's going through some grief, and the mum basically says to the dad, we need to put her up. And he's like, what? We haven't seen her for like 15 years. She didn't come to our wedding. Why are we putting up with it? And she's kind of like, please, just, you know, just do the best thing. Just do, I'm asking you to just do this one thing. And he's like, okay, well, that's fine. So he gives in and lets the aunt move in. The boy straight away, Alex, picks up that there's something wrong. He just senses it. He's kind of like sixth sense. Sits there and says, Dad, how long is she going to stay here? And the dad's like, oh, she'll be gone within a month. It's fine. One day, he just goes to school, comes home, and the parents are basically comatose. They're just sat like the living dead at the dinner table. They haven't moved. And then the aunt comes in and says, come on, sit up, we're going to have dinner together. And he's like, what's wrong with mum and dad? And she's like, nothing, they're just not well, just, you know, sit down, they're fine. She's done something to them and he knows this. And then it kind of, she gets really angry with him because he keeps questioning it, and she tells him to shut up, and he says no. She basically says, go to your room, you're not having your dinner, blah blah blah. And then he comes down the next morning, and then she's put like paper all over the window. She's blotted out the sun from coming into the house. And straight away he's then thinking, yeah, this is madness town, something's happening here. He witnesses certain things that she does, and before this point we don't know who she is. All we see is she goes into Marcus's story, who's the principal, before all this happens, at Alex's side of the things. This Alex is the last person that you see. He's the last version of events, if you see what I mean, where the truth actually comes out. But this woman, who we don't know is the aunt at this time, just appears in the principal's office, and she says, you know, I'm the sister of so-and-so, Alex's mum. And he's like, oh, we need to speak to the mum directly. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, she's not very well. You're going to have to talk to me. And he said, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you unless you're the legal guardian or the parent. Can't tell you anything, but we need to have a word with the parents. So she basically says, why don't you come to the house? And he's like, yeah, okay. Goes into the house, and he realizes the parents are just like weird, comatose. And she said, oh, you know, the dad's had a stroke, he can't talk anymore and stuff like that. And the principal oddly believes it. He's like, oh, okay. That's the first we've heard of it, but he just believes it. Weird. But she tells a convincing story. And then essentially she also ends up in his house, the principal's house. So the principal leaves. She goes to his house and goes, oh, you know, I'm out of breath. Can I just come in for a bit of water? And he's like, he senses something's not right. But he's with a guy. It's his partner, his boyfriend, husband, whatever. And the boyfriend says, nah, you know, come in. And he looks at him as if to say, like, what are you doing? Lets the woman in, who's the witch. We didn't know this at this point. And she says, can I have a bowl of water? And the principal's like, a bowl of water? She's like, yeah, that's just what I do. I'm not going to change the way I am right now, but I drink out of a bowl. And he's like, okay. Gets the bowl out of the cupboard, fills it out with water. She starts doing some weird stuff, like she pulls one of the hairs out of one of the guy's head, wraps it around it. She gets a stick out of her handbag, she wraps it around the stick. Then she pricks her finger on the stick, cuts herself, rubs it in the hair that's wrapped around the stick. So it's like voodoo magic, basically. It's blood magic, dark magic of a witch. And then she kind of like pokes the guy, stabs him a little bit, gets a bit of his blood, wraps that in, and then snaps the twig. And the whole snapping the twig initiates Marcus, the principal, going full Day of the Living Dead zombie mode, World War Z. Just glazes over and just runs at his partner, tackles him to the floor, chokes him. All the while she's just tidying up the kitchen, putting all the stuff away, hiding the evidence, packing up her stuff. And he's got his guy on the floor choking him, and he's just headbutting him constantly, whilst glazed over in a trance, zombified, eyes blurring out of his head, blood drooling down his face, just roaring and doing all that sort of stuff, and just headbutting him. Kills him. She just leaves. So that is when the truth comes out. The moral of the story is the weapons side of why this movie's called Weapons is she's a witch and she uses people as weapons. She controls them through blood magic, voodoo stuff basically, and that's essentially what's happened to the kids. It's actually the meth addict, the character of the meth addict that stumbles upon the kids. He breaks into the house where the kids are stashed in the basement. This is the same house where Alex's parents are, where they're comatose as zombies, as I just said, where the witch is also staying, i.e. Alex's mum's sister, the aunt of Alex, which is why Alex doesn't go missing, because he is part of the family. So she doesn't do anything to Alex. We don't really understand why she took the kids. Initially, you see a scene where Alex gets bullied by a lot of the children in his class constantly. And I thought she was doing that as a revenge thing for Alex, but she doesn't care about Alex. You find that out later on in the movie. And the only thing I can think of is that she's using their souls, or she's using their life force to harvest her own and to keep herself young, because there's an element of... There's a couple of scenes in the movie where Alex walks in and she's asleep in bed, and she's a really old, frail woman. It's kind of like that scene from Game of Thrones. You know when the witch Missandei takes off her necklace? She's a beautiful, like, red-haired woman, like, supple body and all that sort of thing. And when she takes her necklace off, she turns into this old, saggy tit hag who's got, like, 20 foot of hair. She could tie her laces with her tits, sort of thing. And it's kind of like that, and that's the only thing I can think of and that's what it actually reminded me of, is that the witch is obviously harvesting the souls or the energy of the people that she uses as weapons. So not only do they do her bidding, but she also in some way must harvest their energy, and it keeps her young, it keeps her alive. Maybe it keeps her immortal. As long as she feeds off of their life force, she stays alive. A bit like Hocus Pocus, when they like summon all the kids, they suck the life force out of them and then it keeps them young. I think that's kind of where this is going. It doesn't explicitly tell you that, but there's just a section in the movie where she's talking to Alex, and Alex, she's like, oh, I'm really ill, come and help. And she calls out to him and she's like coughing up blood. And Alex is like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm I thought I'd be okay with your mum and dad, i.e. controlling your mum and dad and whatever that gives her. She said, but it's not, so I need something more. And Alex is like, well, what do you need? And she said, I need an item from every child in your class, and I think that will make me feel better. And he's like, why would that help? And she goes, I just think it will, it'll just comfort me. So he's not clocked it, he's not going to, he's young, he doesn't understand exactly the realms of witchcraft. So she manipulates him into going into class, takes an item of all the kids' stuff. It's a pen, one of them's got a badge, one of them's got a booklet, a sticker. He gets every item basically, brings it home. She uses voodoo magic on it, and then at the night time, that exact night when they all go missing, that's essentially what happens. She does the same principle that she did with the principal, wraps their belongings around this stick, does all the voodoo black magic stuff, snaps the stick, and then all of them come running out of their houses towards her like a homing missile basically. And I kind of think that's what the gesture is. When they hold their hands out, again, like what you can see in the background of this video, when they're running, they hold their hands out to the side. I think it's supposed to mimic a missile, like a homing missile when they're launched out from a rocket launcher or a plane, a ship or anything. You've got the blades of the missile that's just, it's like a heat-seeking weapon. And that's kind of, I think it's supposed to symbolize that. It's just freaky as well though. Like when you see someone running up the road with their hands at the side, you're like, what? Any kind of freaky movement like that adds to the horror atmosphere of the movie. But it was very clever written, and I think it also is a metaphor for heat-seeking missiles, i.e. weapons. Why the movie is called Weapons. She uses people as weapons to do her bidding, and in that moment she summons the kids and they all run to her like heat-seeking missiles. She's calling the missiles home, she does her bidding, she presses the button, she pulls the twig, snaps the thing, does whatever, and then they come like laser precision, come running out of the house and they do her bidding. So she keeps all the kids in the basement, and then it assumes and it looks like she starts to gain more energy, she starts to gain more life force, and I think she just feeds off of positive energy, she just feeds off of people and the life force of others, which is naturally what the mythology of a witch is. That's kind of what happens, and the way that it all gets unfolded is the meth addict breaks into the house. Unintentionally, he's just out looking for scraps, he's trying to get by, he's trying to sell his own belongings, he doesn't get anywhere, but he finds this house and he breaks in, sees the parents like alive but comatose, glazed over in the living room, just goes, whatever, they're not going to do anything, starts robbing shit out of the house, gets all the stuff that he needs, and then just bails out of there. He has an interaction with Paul's character, the policeman, on and off in Paul's scenes and in his. But in all of these scenes, each of them see the witch character in a vision, in a dream, just a jump scare. Like one of them sees it her on the ceiling, one of them sees them outside, one of them sees them in a car. So she is the common ground in each of the scenes. So again, it's just playing on your mind in the background that this is the focus of the movie. And she's terrorizing these people, and they're all interconnected, both through their traumas and through what they're actually experiencing as well. Again, like I said, stellar writing. It's a beautiful web of branching characters and branching storylines, different initiatives, but what they're feeling through their trauma and their desperation is also shared as well. And I think the way it comes together in the end is just amazing. So the meth addict finds the kids. He says to the policeman, I know where the kids are, because he keeps going in the shop where he sells stuff and he sees a $50,000 reward on the side. Notices all the kids and is like, I know where they are. Goes to the policeman, essentially says to the policeman, I know where these kids are, I need that reward. So the policeman's like, no, you're just having me on, basically, based on what happened in the earlier scenes, which I'm not going to spoil too much of because it's funny and it's worth watching just for the comedy value. But the policeman eventually gives in and says, okay, I'll go and check it out. They go and have a look. Meanwhile, Julia's character, the teacher, and Josh's character, Archer, have managed to realise that through his own footage of the Ring doorbell, his son ran off to a certain direction, so he puts a massive line on the map. He finds the father of another child in the class that went missing, the girl. He says, can I look at the Ring footage that you've got? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he maps out the distance where she goes in a straight line from her house, and they obviously, he's thinking they cross over in the middle. And Julia's character, the teacher, says, well, actually, that meeting point in the middle where they cross is Alex's house. So then they're like, so they get together, drive to the house to check it out, and then that's when everything just fully kicks off. They realise what's happening. The policeman goes in, he gets corrupted by the witch, he doesn't come out. Julia's character and Archer are sat outside just looking at the house, and then they see the policeman. He's kind of glazed over and he's just doing this, like waving them in. They're like, oh, that was weird. And she said, that's Paul. I know who Paul is. Obviously her ex. They go in, all kicks off, fighting breaks out. Obviously the witch is using the parents still to guard her where she's upstairs, and the policeman goes at Archer, and he goes at Julia's character. Meanwhile, the meth addict's in there as well. He gets roped into it, and they get turned into mummified zombies, basically. It all kicks off, and spoilers, this whole section, spoilers by the way. Paul gets killed, so the policeman gets killed. Julia has to shoot him because he's just trying to kill her. He's just glazed over. When they're in this state and they're in control of the witch, there is no snapping out of it. The only way to kill the hold is to kill the person. It's kind of like it's exactly like a zombie. Once they've turned, you've got to shoot them in the head, and it's kind of what she does. So Paul dies. All the while, Alex, the clever little boy that he is, in an earlier scene in the movie, he's seen the witch wrap the stick. He's seen her do the magic, so he's clocked what she does and how she controls people. So what he does is get a bit of her hair, the witch's hair, I think off of a brush or something. I can't recall where he gets it from, but he gets a piece of her hair, runs away, does the magic thing himself, finds her kit basically, copies it, snaps the stick, and then the parents, who up until this point are trying to kill Alex because they're just glazed and doing what the witch says, the parents continue to chase Alex. They're locked in, again, weapons, homing missile, remember that. When Alex does a stick and breaks it, all the children downstairs in the basement run after the witch. So she's clocked what's happened. She goes, oh no, and runs out of the house. You can hear the kids running up the stairs, and they've gone full World War Z mode. They're jumping out of windows, they're smashing through doors. She's belting it down the road, and the kids are just chasing her. And there's a really funny scene where there's a guy like cutting his grass. He's got his like headphones on, his lawnmower, and he's cutting his grass. He looks up like that, stops the lawnmower. He sees the witch run past in a little gap in the wall, and then about 50 kids go like chasing her, and it's just comedy. But this is the bit that I didn't like, and it just felt very sharp and abrupt as an ending. It was justifiable, and it felt like it went full circle, but the kids essentially catch up to her, they bash her, they eat her alive, they rip her to shreds, they pull her jaw off, poke her in the eyes, pull her hair off, pull her skin off of her face. Her arms get ripped off and she dies, and that basically breaks the hold over everything, so that all of a sudden, once she's dead, the kids stop attacking her. Alex's parents stop trying to kill him. Unfortunately, Paul was dead at this point. Again, Archer stops attacking Julia's character, because at that point he turns on Julia and starts choking her, because he gets caught in the basement when he goes down to see where the kids are, and they split up. He sees his son, goes in there, and the witch is actually down there and grabs him, and then he gets turned as well, basically. But the movie kind of just ends after that. The curse gets broken, and then the girl that was talking in the beginning, the narration, comes back and says, you know, some of the kids remember to talk again a few months later, some of them didn't, and Alex's parents had to move away. They're still being fed soup, but not by Alex, because there's this weird thing in the movie where all these people get fed chicken soup. The ones that are glazed over and kept by the witch are fed by soup. Don't know why, but they're just fed by soup. It's just a thing. There might be a reason for that. I just didn't clock what it was. It might just be a weird little detail that was included just to add to the creepiness of the movie. But yeah, she just says at the end that Alex's parents moved on. They were still basically comatose, brain dead, didn't talk, didn't come back, and just stayed in that state. But the difference is that she didn't have that hold on them. So it might open up a potential for a second movie. I don't kind of know why they left it like that. But essentially the hold that she had on the children was fine. And the only reason I thought that actually the parents didn't go back to the way they were was because actually those were the first two people that she controlled. So she had control over them for the longest amount of time, which is why I think that they didn't return to their normal selves after she was dead and the curse was broken. But it also could set up a second movie, so I don't know. But that's the only bit of the movie I didn't like. Apart from that, the pacing was fantastic. It was action-packed. I didn't feel bored at any point. It was creepy. It was eerie. I was sat there guessing and wanting to guess what happened to some of these characters, where it's going. Loved watching the overlap as well, the different perspectives and how they interlinked. But for me, the ending felt a little bit dry. It felt a little bit rushed, and it felt a little bit bittersweet. Love that the kids fucking, absolutely went in and destroyed her. It felt like justice. It felt like it needed to go that way. And I understand why it went that way. And some of those scenes were absolute comedy. Some 7-year-old girl just diving through a pane of glass, rolling, and then just chasing her like she's just some possessed, jacked up jock. It was just something else. But the comedy writing in it was better than I'm explaining it. It's really, really, really funny, and I think whether it was intentional or not, it did bring a smile to my face. And a couple of people in the movie with me was laughing in different scenes. I could hear people chuckling at it as well. So there's comedy elements in there, and I think when you've got a horror film and you've got some comedy element, it breaks it up a little bit. Doesn't need to be in your face, doesn't need to be tongue-in-cheek, gory, jump scares every 2 minutes. I think everything about it in that respect was great. The writing was good. There was jump scares in there, but it wasn't rammed down your throat. It was done at the right times. It was done at the right moments. It wasn't overfed. I think the characters themselves were brilliantly written. I think they were well placed. I think the acting was great. There wasn't a bad actor in this. And the writing itself was fantastic as well. I loved the story. Like I said, never in a million years would I guess from the trailer alone that this was a witch. My assumption was it was going to be sci-fi and this was going to be aliens, but I thought, I don't know. And there's little hints in the movie, even from the very first scenes, like I said, where Julia's character, the teacher, gets witch sprayed on the side of the car. It's in your face the whole time. But it's not until you realise that you go, that's what that is. That's who they keep seeing. That is that woman they keep seeing, why they keep seeing her, and what's happening. She's manipulating the minds of everybody, and she's interlinking through her blood magic. So yeah, didn't see that one coming. It was a nice twist. It was a nice plot. Like I said, I've given this one a 9 out of 10. Everything about it was great. The music, the atmosphere, the creepiness, the pacing, the sound design, the storytelling, the writing, the way it was directed. Some of the panning shots were great. I think it worked well in a small village, and it was based in the 90s. It just felt like homely, if that makes sense, but creepy and believable because everyone's going to know each other in a small town. I loved everything about it. There wasn't anything at all that I would say I didn't like apart from the end, and that's why it's not a 10. It was very, very close to a 10, but the pacing just fell off a little bit at the end for me. And that bit where everything got crazy and everything came out into the open, and it's like, here we go, everyone knows now, everyone's witnessed it, it's all kicking off. 3 minutes later it ends. It's like, and then it literally ends. The whole movie ends and it's done. I'm like, okay. It's kind of like, I don't want to say edging, but it's building you up to something where you're like, this is phenomenal now. This is a 10 out of 10. And then it's like, boom, takes it away and it's gone. I'm like, okay. But it does leave you wanting more. And I'm wondering, is this an intentional thing to dangle the carrot for a second movie? I'd be well up for a second movie. They could easily write it in if they wanted to. They could continue Alex's story, or they could continue with the parents who are still, by the way, comatose. Could they be repossessed again? Does the witch have a daughter, a son, a family link? Has she left a trace of herself at the house that could be reignited somehow? Don't know. Could be easily done, but I really enjoyed the movie. It could easily go into a double or a trilogy if it's done in the right way. I would even have loved to have seen this into a TV series. They could have easily done the character episodes as they've shot it in this movie as individual episodes. Could have fleshed them out a little bit, made it like an hour long each episode, and made it into 4 or 5 episodes. It could have been a great season, but the movie itself is fantastic as well, and it does work. But I just like to have seen some of the characters maybe fleshed out a little bit more, and some of the other characters condensed. We didn't need to see as much as we did with like the meth character, for example, and I'd like to have spent a little more time with Julia's character. Do you know what I mean? Just to flesh it out and feel the connection that she has to the story a little bit more. Because in the end, ultimately, what the meth character does doesn't really matter. He's kind of like a pawn in all this. He just gets used to be controlled, and his side of the story is he's just struggling and he steals stuff from people's houses. So we could have condensed his sections a little bit. Although I do understand it needed to be long as well to show the overlap with Paul's character. So it swings and roundabouts, guys, swings and roundabouts, and I'm just picking it apart now. I'm just being really picky, but that's why it's not a perfect 10 out of 10, and I have to say why it's not a 10 out of 10. But for me, it's a fantastic movie. It's near perfect. Some people will say it's perfect, and the scores out there will say it's perfect. Just for me, I would like to have seen the ending tightened a little bit and just fleshed out some of the character sections a little bit more. Other than that, great film, great pacing, great sound, great acting, brilliant storytelling, and it was creepy. It was very, very good, very atmospheric as well. Great horror, great movie in general, 9 out of 10. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Go and watch it. If you have watched it, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. If you're going to watch it, you're debating and you're not sure, please go and watch it. This is my opinion. I absolutely loved it. And if you don't want to just listen to me, go and look at all the reviews out there. Go and check out stuff on YouTube, other review channels, other Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb. They're all screaming about this. It's doing great at the box office, and it deserves the praise and hype. So I hope you enjoy it. Please go and watch it. It's a fantastic movie for everybody, but you have to be 18 or over. Until the next video, guys, thank you for checking me out, and I'll see you again soon. Peace!